The first thing Thomas saw was a pair of eyes wide, desperate, barely above the surface. They blinked once before a wave slammed over them, swallowing the small head whole. He dropped the coffee mug, hot liquid splashing across the deck as he lunged to the edge of the boat. For a heartbeat, he thought his mind was playing tricks after hours staring at the horizon. But then the shape broke through the water, again frail, clinging to something. Not a gull, not driftwood. A cat. A damn cat in the middle of the Atlantic, miles from shore, fighting the ocean like it had any chance. His pulse hammered in his ears as another wave rolled in, sweeping the fragile body under. Thomas stumbled toward the controls, boots slipping on wet planks. The engine roared to life, coughing black smoke into the wind as he slammed the throttle forward. The bow knifed through gray swells, throwing salt spray against his face, but his eyes never left the spot where that tiny head had vanished. Every second stretched, the sea shifting like a living thing, hiding its prey beneath steel-colored sheets. He gripped the wheel so hard his knuckles burned, muttering curses the wind tore away before they left his lips. A cat. Out here. How? Why? Questions didn't matter. All that mattered was that the ocean was winning, and Thomas couldn't let it. The waves heaved harder as the sky sagged low, heavy with rain. Thomas squinted through the spray, heart slamming, searching for any break in the relentless water. Then there, a flicker of movement near a shard of timber, something limp draped across it. The cat, its fur plastered flat, tail trailing like seaweed. It wasn't fighting anymore. It just floated, head rolling weakly, eyes half shut. Thomas's throat tightened, a hot knot of anger rising, not at the animal, not even at fate, but at the cruel indifference of the sea. He shoved the throttle harder, the boat shuddering as if protesting his desperation. 10 more yards. 5. He could almost. He grabbed the gaff hook from its rack and leaned over the rail, the engine idling in a low growl as the boat drifted close. The wood bumped the hull, and for a breathless second, the cat's eyes flicked open 2 shards of gold in a drowning world. Thomas hooked the timber, dragging it toward him, but the ocean fought back, sucking it away like a thief clutching its prize. His boots skidded on the slick deck as he hauled with everything he had, muscles screaming, heart pounding against his ribs. The board slammed against the side, and he dropped to his knees, reaching out, fingers grazing wet fur that felt colder than stone. Then the sky ripped open with thunder, and the first sheet of rain came down like nails. The boat pitched hard, nearly throwing him over as the next wave smashed broadside. Thomas clung to the rail with one hand, the other still wrapped around that sodden piece of wood. The cat didn't move. Its body hung limp, paws dangling like dead leaves. For a moment, he thought he was too late, that the sea had already claimed it. But then so faint, he almost missed it. An ear twitched, alive. Barely. His stomach clenched as the wind howled like some furious god. If he didn't act now, the next swell would drag them both under. Rain hammered the deck so hard it sounded like gunfire, drowning every other noise. Thomas braced his boots against the slick wood, both hands locked on the timber as the boat pitched under him. His breath tore out in harsh bursts, mingling with the salt spray slashing across his face. The gaff hook groaned against the pull of the current, the ocean tugging like it had teeth. With a guttural shout, he heaved the board upward, arms screaming in protest until the sodden weight thudded onto the deck with a sickening slap. Water streamed off in sheets, pooling black around his knees as he dropped beside it. For a second, he didn't dare look, didn't want to see the truth written in that limp little frame. The cat lay twisted, its fur a patchwork of matted stripes and brine, ribs fluttering so faintly he almost imagined it. Thomas's fingers hovered above it, shaking. He pressed 2 knuckles against its chest, searching for a heartbeat through layers of soaked fur and fragile bone. Nothing. Then there. A stutter, weak and uneven, like a broken clock refusing to quit. Relief hit him like a punch, knocking the breath from his lungs. "Come on," he rasped, voice swallowed by the storm. He scooped the cat up, clutching its tiny body against his jacket, feeling the violent tremor of its shivers against his ribs. It weighed almost nothing, a scrap of life the ocean had tried to erase. Lightning split the sky, a jagged vein tearing open the black. Thomas staggered to the wheel, cradling the cat with one arm while the other fought the controls. The engine roared in protest as the hull slammed against the waves, climbing and crashing like a toy in the hands of some cruel child. He cursed under his breath, jaw clenched, eyes burning from the salt and the sting of fear. He had weathered storms before, but never like this, not with a life balanced on his forearm, as fragile as a fallen leaf. Water spilled over the gunwale, swirling around his boots, icy fingers clawing at his calves. Every instinct screamed to turn back, but there was no back. Only forward, only land if they could make it. He tried to think, to plan, but the storm left no room for logic. The wind shrieked like a living thing, snatching at the cat's sodden fur as Thomas shielded it inside his jacket. His heart hammered as the boat hit another wall of water, sending him crashing against the console. Pain shot up his shoulder, white-hot, but he clamped his jaw and kept moving. He'd lost enough already. He could not let go now. His breath came in harsh, ragged bursts, fogging the glass as he scanned the horizon through sheets of rain. There was nothing out there. No land, no lights, just gray chaos, endless and consuming. And beneath that, the thought gnawed like rust. What if it didn't matter? What if this fight was already lost? Another wave slammed broadside, flipping the cooler and sending apples rolling like marbles across the deck. Thomas caught the railing with one arm, clutching the cat tighter with the other. For a terrifying heartbeat, he felt the boat tilt past reason, weight shifting toward a capsize that would swallow them whole. His pulse detonated as the hull groaned, timbers shrieking under the strain. Then miraculously, the bow dipped forward, slamming back into the trough with a bone-jarring crash. He sucked in air that felt like knives, chest burning, eyes wild. The storm wasn't done. Not by a long shot. And in that screaming void of wind and water, one truth burned savage in his mind. If this boat goes under, they both vanish into blackness. The storm clawed at the boat like a predator unwilling to release its prey. Wind howled in his ears, each gust threatening to rip the world apart. Thomas gritted his teeth, forcing the wheel against the surge, muscles screaming as he fought the wild strength of the sea. His coat clung to him like a second skin, drenched and heavy, but inside it, pressed tight to his chest, was warmth, faint and fluttering. He didn't dare look down. Couldn't risk seeing stillness where there should be fight. Every wave felt like a punch from something ancient and merciless, and every slam of the hull was a question. How much longer can you hold on? His jaw ached from clenching, fingers numb around the throttle, eyes darting to the dark that passed for a horizon. There was no point searching for land. Out here, there was only survival, and maybe not even that. Minutes or hours, he couldn't tell, bled into one another as the storm hammered him down to the bone. Then, slowly, a shift. The wind screamed dulled to a hoarse moan, the waves losing their murderous rhythm, slumping instead of lunging. Thomas felt it like a rope easing on his throat, the crushing weight of the sea pulling back, though the sky still spat rain in cold, relentless needles. He let out a breath that burned his lungs, only realizing then that he'd been holding it forever. The boat bobbed now, beaten and battered, its deck strewn with wreckage gear scattered, ropes writhing like snakes, water sloshing ankle-deep. He slumped against the console, breath tearing in and out, muscles trembling from the fight. For a long time he just sat there, eyes closed, listening to the water whisper instead of roar. The cat was so still he thought for a sickening second that the ocean had claimed it after all. His chest clamped like a fist as he pulled the small body from inside his coat, laying it gently on the least flooded patch of deck he could find. Its fur was a sodden mess of stripes, tiny paws curled tight, chest moving, or was that his imagination? Thomas bent low, ear nearly brushing its side, straining for something. Then it came, a breath so faint it could have been wind, followed by another, jagged and wet. Relief ripped through him so hard he almost laughed, but the sound snagged in his throat, twisting into something closer to a sob. "You stubborn little thing," he whispered, his voice cracking against the rain. "You're still here." Instinct drove him then, the kind that doesn't ask questions. He stripped off his jacket, wrapping it around the cat like a makeshift cocoon, hands moving fast despite the tremor in his fingers. He needed heat. He needed shelter. He needed to do something before that flickering spark went out. He pressed the tiny bundle against his chest again, tucking it beneath his shirt, feeling its fragile warmth seep like a whisper against his skin. His own heartbeat thundered against its frail rhythm, a drum urging it back to life. And as he sat there, rocking with the motion of the waves, a memory broke through a kitchen quiet as a grave, a mug left cold beside an empty chair. For the first time in months, the silence inside him cracked. The clouds thinned above, revealing a sky the color of bruises. The sea stretched out in every direction, vast and pitiless, but no longer raging. Thomas lifted his eyes to the horizon, searching for some promise of land, and that's when he saw it, thin and low against the waterline, like a shadow cast by the dying storm, a shape. Maybe a bluff, maybe salvation. He squinted, heart vaulting in his chest, then reached for the throttle with hands that shook not from fear this time, but from something sharper, hope. But as the engine coughed to life, and the bow turned toward that faint dark line, a sound rose behind him, sharp and violent enough to freeze his blood, the crack of wood under strain. He spun and saw the mast leaning, splintering, ready to tear free and take the deck with it. The sound tore through the air like a gunshot. Thomas spun just in time to see the mast lurch, a splintering crack ripping up its length. Rainwater cascaded down the torn wood as it wrenched loose, ropes whipping like live wires in the gale's dying breath. His stomach bottomed out as the timber swung, carving through the air with a force that could snap bones if it connected. Instinct took over. He dropped flat, arms curling protectively around the tiny bundle pressed to his chest. The mast slammed down where his head had been, exploding across the deck with a deafening crash. The boat shuddered under the impact, listing hard to starboard as the broken spar pinned the railing like a harpoon. Thomas clawed his way up, boots sliding through water and debris, the taste of copper in his mouth where his teeth had cut his lip. The cat didn't stir. Panic surged in white-hot waves, hotter than the storm had ever been. If that mast tore free completely, it would drag half the deck and maybe the hull with it. And if the hull went, they were finished. No land, no help, no second chances. Thomas staggered toward the wreckage, prying at ropes swollen and stiff with seawater. His hands bled where the fibers bit into his skin, but pain was distant, meaningless against the pounding drumbeat of survival. He braced one foot, heaved, cursed, yanked until his vision sparked with stars. Nothing. The mast groaned again, shifting with the swell, the ocean tugging at it like a giant determined to claim its prize. For a heartbeat, something inside him wanted to quit to let the sea take what it always takes. But then he felt it, the faint, stubborn tick of a heartbeat against his ribs. And quitting wasn't an option anymore. Adrenaline roared through him, feral and bright. He scrambled to the console, ripping through a locker for anything hatchet, knife, hell, even the rusted hacksaw he hadn't touched in years. His fingers closed on the saw, and he lunged back, falling to his knees in the rising pool of seawater. Teeth gritted, he dragged the blade against the thick rope, every stroke a war against time. Fibers frayed, snapped, bled salt, but the sea fought back, pitching the boat so hard the deck slammed his shoulder against steel. His arm screamed, lungs burned, but the line began to give. Another stroke, another, and then with a savage rip, the last strand parted, whipping loose in a spray of brine. The mast lurched, teetered, and then slid free, crashing into the black water with a final roar before vanishing beneath the surface. Silence followed, not peace, but the stunned hush of something barely survived. Thomas collapsed against the shattered rail, chest heaving like a bellows, arms wrapped around the trembling life beneath his coat. He looked down, forehead pressing to the sodden bundle, whispering words he didn't know he remembered how to say. "We're still here," he rasped, his voice raw as the sky peeled open to a bruised dawn. The storm was gone, burned out to nothing but a smear of clouds and a sea as glassy as regret. In that hush, he felt it. The rise and fall of a tiny chest, the warm flicker of breath against his skin. He laughed, then ragged, cracked, too close to tears to care. For the first time in months, the sound didn't echo in emptiness. It filled the air like a promise. Hours later, the bow kissed sand. Thomas stumbled ashore with the cat tucked in his arms, a living scrap of defiance wrapped in his torn jacket. He sank to his knees on the wet earth, the tide curling at his boots, and stared at the horizon, the same horizon that had almost swallowed them both. The world smelled of salt and rain and something else he hadn't felt in years. Beginning. Behind him, the boat leaned battered and broken, its fight spent, but in his arms there was heat. Life. A reason to keep breathing when yesterday there had been none. The cat stirred, lifting its head, gold eyes meeting his with a clarity that struck like sunlight through storm clouds. In that gaze, something passed between them, wordless, unbreakable. He smiled, slow and certain, and whispered, "Guess it's just you and me now." And for the first time in forever, that sounded like enough.